And I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat.
They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension, everything, and the drama.
How dare! Look at this. How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
Calm. Tyler. You just know we're never going to be calm. Although your words are just full of wisdom, we'll get into it. Welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks. You can also subscribe wherever you get your audio. And it is Canadian Thanksgiving. We are live this afternoon as the Canucks have played 2 games. They have 2 points. They have 2 losses. But, we will say hello to Sean. Sean, happy Thanksgiving. How are you today?
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Kevin, to you, Tyler. My shirt, it says hot mess on it. I think it's very appropriate for the Canucks fan base, honestly. We're 2 games in, and it just seems like we're off the deep end already. But that is, as Chris would say, Canucks fans will Canucks fan, unfortunately. Like, you'd think we'd learn, you think we'd be able to grow and mature, but that just doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Kevin, nice to see you again. It's been a while since we've been on together.
Yes.
But, Canucks fans, any sports fans maturing after 2 games. It's funny how that immediacy just arrives, and then sort of losing perspective on how long the season actually is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we'll get into it. I think it's interesting here. But yes, happy Thanksgiving. Of course, if you have any comments, post them, retweet, like, share, subscribe, do all the podcast things. So that we need to do. Yeah. Yeah, it has been a while, Tyler, and we haven't seen you in a while. How was your summer, first of all?
It was good. It was very busy. It flew by. Lots of softball. And then now we're just in full swing in hockey season. I just came back from Smithers after refereeing a couple of Central Interior Hockey League games here over the weekend, and it's been raining like hell here the last month or so. It seems like in this Terrace Kitimat area. I think it's let up now. Just looking outside, but I think we still got some more to go here. We're certainly in what we call in highway maintenance the monsoon season here. So we're hoping we get through this without too many issues.
Well, I hope so. We just got rain today. Actually, we had a very sunny weekend, and then today we just got a dump of rain today. So
there you go.
Maybe it's Canucks tears.
Meanwhile, in Calgary, it's 23 degrees and sunny here. So.
Very summery there still. Boy, for October 14th.
Don't worry, I think it's going away by the end of the week. So
yeah. So it has been actually a while since we have all gathered, and so good to see everybody as well. And hello, Chris. Hello, Devin. Maybe Devin will jump on one of these times. Who knows? But of course, we take the off season off for the most part, but we haven't gathered since the very unfortunate and tragic passing of Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau on August the 28th. And the Flames on their home opener on Saturday did a kind of a moving tribute. I want to say kind of. It was sort of it wasn't a somber tribute to Johnny because did have the candlelight vigil. They kind of tried to keep it as upbeat as possible. Although the message from the Gaudreau family, you could still feel them wearing this, which is going to go on forever. And then Columbus is about during their home opener going to do something for Johnny and Matthew as well. But we haven't had a chance to kind of gather and discuss this. I did a podcast with Dan and Matt when this all went down, but I just wanted to, and I know Sean and Chris kind of briefly talked about it as well, but maybe kind of just some final, as we, I don't want to say close down or move on. I don't know what the words are because I think it's hard to say move on
to the next chapter, I think is the right way of putting it, because it's never going to be behind us, but just it's the next chapter of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to imagine something more tragic than that. Just all of the details around it. I mean, people can go back and look into it if they want. I'm not going to rehash it now, but the Gaudreaus certainly impacted a lot of people's lives, and that's being felt, and hopefully their legacy will be carried on in some fashion here. Through hockey, and beyond hockey as well. It's been quite touching to see all the different tributes that have come in from around the league as the season's gotten started.
Yeah.
On Saturday, I was having who we've had on the podcast before, Andy, who used to work for the Flames, and he was actually went down with the Flames brass to meet Johnny when he signed his first contract. So it was seeing that the tribute that the Flames did on Saturday was with him was definitely a lot more moving than it would have been if it wasn't. No, because as Andy, he knew Johnny, he had met the whole family. Like I'm still struggling to find the words to really explain how I feel and where I'm at with it. But I really liked that tribute, just showing all like the key goals that he had and spotlighting on the ice where he scored them from. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a really good way to. Yeah, it's like it really was a touching tribute, and I guess the best way to move on in this is just don't drink and drive. That's just flat out. I don't think there's anything else to say. I don't think we need to get into a big lecture about it, but just don't drink and drive. And we take the tough turn. So since we haven't had Tyler on for a little bit, we haven't had a chance to kind of hear what his expectations are of the Canucks coming into this season. Of course, it's been a little bit of a controversial offseason with the Thatcher Demko. The big thing being the Thatcher Demko situation. There's other things as well that are sort of typical Canuck controversies. But Tyler, kind of before the season started, what were sort of your expectations coming in? Did you have any? What were you hoping for from the Canucks this year?
Oh,
did we lose Tyler?
Yeah, I did it again. I think we're all hoping to build off of last year, but there's a lot that has to go right. Expectations. I think people need to temper those expectations. There's weight of pressure now on this team, right? Like going into last year, and even Jim Rutherford had downplayed it. There's a lot of things that have to happen to make the playoffs. So I think that's still kind of true. Has the team gotten better? Probably, but that's not. It's not like a for sure thing in my opinion. And there's still good competition around them for playoff spots. So yeah, I'm still, my expectation is still to be in the playoffs and win a round, but beyond that, I don't. I'm not sure what I expect beyond that. Like it's still hard to get there, and as we're seeing already, there's a couple of games here that haven't been very impressive.
So I guess do you have I'll ask this for Sean as well. Do you have a higher level of concern right now, or are you kind of in your calm down?
Yeah. I mean,
calm
it's
down
two games. It's 2 games in, and they did collect a couple of points out of those games too. So as far as falling behind in the standings, I mean that's more where my concern is when you get off to a slow start. Is like, are you chasing that playoff spot with the points and trying to get a playoff spot there? I don't think there's any reason to be panicked over that, but. Yeah, it's been pretty underwhelming to say the least. There's other teams that are struggling too. I mean, the Edmonton just made the Stanley Cup final. They're 0-3. So, but that doesn't mean they're going to be bad. I mean, things will turn around. It's a long season.
Yeah, it's 2 games. Anyone who is panicking over this is literally wanting to panic about something. Is wanting to be angry about something here. The Canucks played well for half the game versus Calgary, and I missed most of the third period in the overtime because I was told by Sportsnet that I was not in Canada anymore, so I can't really
the only one,
speak too much. Yeah, can't really speak too much to how the Canucks played in the third and the overtime versus Philly, but I thought they played decent again. From what I saw, and I think they were a little unlucky not to be up a little bit more and not to score a little bit there in that game. So I think you obviously look at it. Yeah, they lost 2 games, but they in regulation. They've gotten a couple points out of it and had a couple bounces go the other way. They're probably 2-0. So I would say it's not ideal. You would rather be at least 0-2 versus 1-1. Like, in a system where it's points, yes, having wins helps you in tie breaks and all that. But yeah, you'd much rather be 2-0, but like you still got 2 out of the possible 4 points in the first 2 games. And it's like the top 6 hasn't played great, but I think there's still some chemistry being worked out with Petey and DeBrusk, and Sprong has had ups and downs. The Miller line, that'll come. The Miller line will come. I'm not worried about them. And then the bottom 6 is still a little bit in flux because you are missing Dakota Joshua, and you don't know what the makeup of that bottom 6 really looks like going into the meat of the season. And defensively, I think they're still trying to figure out how to be a little bit more aggressive with their plays with the puck, without giving up, without being too aggressive. And I think that's where they're trying to figure things out there. So it's still a work in progress, but there's no reason to panic.
I think it's been easy for people to underestimate just how much of an effect there is with the roster turnover. Like, there were quite a few pieces swapped in and out of the lineup, right? And training camp, you're working in other guys, and guys are trying to find their form. Like, it's you all of a sudden arrive at the start of the season, and the chemistry might not be there. And I think that's, to Sean's point, that's going to take some time to develop, and you just hope it doesn't take too long.
Yeah, there's 6 or 7 new players with the team, including, and really, I mean, you got to include Ratu in that conversation as well. Him playing a bit more, Jake DeBrusk getting used to a new team. You got Kiefer Sherwood, Darren Sprong, Vincent Desharnais, and Derek Forbort. That was, I mean, Wednesday was their first game together, right? So there's still you still got some things to work out in terms of that part of it. So yeah, I mean, I think where I would like just the red flag, unfortunately, is not a lot of 4-1 leads were blown last year, and a 4-1 lead and a 3-goal lead was blown against Calgary.
Yeah.
And I mean, so I guess there's a little bit of concern for that, but I mean, I think as the year goes on, and let's be honest, and I think this is probably where the big concern or the big question is if that was Thatcher, and it's no disrespect to Arthur Seeloffs, and I'm not saying that he played necessarily poorly, but Thatcher Demko plays that game against Calgary, it's a Vancouver win. And it just, and I think that that's part of the other concern is what is going on with Thatcher Demko? When will Thatcher Demko be back? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's sort of kind
I
of
mean, the longer this goes on for, the more of a discussion point it's going to be, obviously. I mean, just to touch on the goaltending in the first game there, I mean, it wasn't great. It was okay, but as the book sort of becomes known on Artur Shilov's, one thing we're seeing, I think, is a bit of a trend is tracking shots from long distance seems to be an issue for him, and if teams pick up on that, it's going to be harder for him to be effective. It was okay. It was, I don't think he's at fault for the loss against Calgary, but it wasn't it wasn't spectacular by any means.
Sean.
Yeah, I would say it's not. Yeah, I'd say it's not. It wasn't his fault, but yeah, he could have. The Canucks could have used a save on one of those goals. And he gives them a save on one of them, and it's a different game. So, and that's hockey though. That's what's so great about it is it can turn, like, those things do change things, and momentum can change, especially in game like that. And then it's one game.
Yeah,
he played fantastic in the playoffs, and to say that it's a question mark at this point. It's 2 games.
Yeah.
Let's talk next week, see where they're at. Let's talk in 2 weeks, see where they're at, see where Demko's at. Goalies have bad games. Like, what was the score in the LA and Ottawa game this afternoon? 8-7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coaches love those ones. Yeah.
So just
I mean, if we're at US,
we can talk about who like the breakdowns and all that, but it's way too early to say that the goaltending is a question mark for the Canucks. Lankinen played really well in that Philly game.
Yeah.
And the Canucks just weren't able to, had the Canucks been able to score like they were early on in the Flames game,
yeah,
that's a win for the Canucks, not a Philadelphia shootout win. Like, that's where I'm at. Why it's not, this isn't anything to be concerned about. You get 1 or 2 bounces in both those games, and it's a different game. The Canucks are 2-0, and we're having a completely different conversation today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's Canadian Thanksgiving today. I mean, if we're at the American Thanksgiving and we still don't have any timeline for Thatcher Demko, or if he's not back yet, then I think we can revisit the topic. But we've got a ways to go until we're at that point.
So as the Canucks go on this road trip, though, they've got Tampa Bay on Tuesday, they got Florida Thursday, they've got the Flyers on Saturday, and the Blackhawks on Tuesday the 22nd. How are you who are you playing more, or are you splitting this, or what are your thoughts?
Sean?
Well, right now, Lankinen played the best in the 2 games. Seelovs had a average game. I say Lankinen had an above average game. You play Lankinen until he struggles. Like, there's no back-to-backs. So why would you feel like you need to split them? If Lankinen's playing well, you keep him in net. Don't overthink this.
I'm of the same sort too. Like, don't overexpose Shilovs here now. Like, he's still a young goaltender. Lankinen's a more experienced goaltender, and he did play well against Philadelphia. Just stick with him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, just a reminder for people. I mean, Seelovs has played 18 NHL hockey games. Like, there's not a lot of experience there. Like, the reality is, I honestly think that the Canucks brass had. I think the Canucks brass would rather have him in Abbotsford
Yeah.
for a season than have him as a backup. I think that's was the whole point of bringing in trying to get in a veteran goaltender.
Yep.
I think that probably I would suspect that Lankinen plays 3 and Seeloffs plays 1 is my suspicion on this road trip, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Even if Lankinen plays all 4 and they ride Lankinen a little bit harder, like we're assuming Demko's coming back and playing it is the de facto starter when he comes back, and so there's no point like trying to manage games for the whoever's playing well. If Lankinen has a bad game, I have no issues throwing Shelovs in. But at this point, if Lankinen plays the way he did against Philly, there's no point not playing him 3 games for sure, if not all 4 on this road trip.
Yeah. Either way, it's in terms of the defense, I think the big, it could have been worse. Is the Tyler Myers went very awkwardly into the boards against Philadelphia. It looked bad. It is at this point day to day, not week to week. So that is at least good news. He's on the road trip, so he's not.
He is skating already, so
yeah. So that's a big sigh of relief. A lot of injuries, by the way. A lot of early. I don't recall this many injuries at the start of the year. Maybe it's just me or something, but like just overall in the NHL. And then, and I think that people, Vincent Desharnais had it wasn't the best start, but against Calgary, and he sat out against Philly. I would suspect that they're going to be splitting Desharnais and Juleson for the most part this year. I don't necessarily think one is regularly over the other, but
Desharnais is a late bloomer, and he wasn't a regular player for the Oilers last year. And he's in the new system. Everything that talked about when talking about Desharnais, it sounded like they were going to take a longer term sort of approach with him to try and get him into the new system, make sure he understands what his role is and all that. So like for me, this isn't anything that should be surprising.
I mean, it was kind of jarring that Desharnais was a healthy scratch. Was it not? I that was a surprise to me, but he'll take that in stride, I'm sure, and try to fix what needs to be fixed. And obviously, if an injury comes up, he's going to be playing. But I don't know if I like the idea of just bouncing between him and Noah Juleson. Like a guy like Juleson needs some playing time. Otherwise, why is he on the roster? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think all things equal, Juleson is the 7th defenseman.
Yeah.
But they need to get Desharnais to a point where they're like he's more comfortable in the system. Juleson is right now. He played a decent amount of games last year. Both will get, like, regardless of what happens, both are going to get a decent amount of games because of injuries and everything that happens throughout the season. But I think they see a higher ceiling with Desharnais than Juleson. We know what Juleson is, and like he's your perfect 6th, 7th defenseman. Desharnais has the potential to be a good number 5, maybe even a 4 in the right system with the right partner. So I think they're taking a patient approach with him. It's quick. Like him getting scratches quicker than I would have expected, but I didn't within the first 10 games. I had the expectation that they would maybe sit him and let him watch from the press box and see where learn that way, because he's not a bona fide, he only just broke into the NHL last year. Last year was his first full NHL season. So there's still lots of room to grow for him.
He's got some Tyler Myers in him. I could see that. I think I see a little bit of that. I also think I think the other thing to remind everybody is that that blue line is not a finished product. I would suspect. I mean, that the Canucks are going to be out searching for a forward and a defenseman at least at the trade deadline, at least before the trade deadline. So that's not a final finished product anyway. So.
Yeah, I think ideally Desharnais might be the 7th defenseman on this team going into the playoffs, and Juleson the number 8, and then you knock down Myers onto the third pair with Forbort, and then you have a more true top second pairing defenseman with Susie going into the playoffs. I think that's the ideal situation for the Canucks later on in the season.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the other 4, I know Philip Hronek had it wasn't Connor Zary scored a great goal. Two things can be true. That was a great goal by Connor Zary. That was not played greatly by Philip Hronek against Calgary.
And it was also a lucky goal too. Like, Zary lost control of the puck at the end and it went in. He just made a very strong move to the net and forced the issue.
Yeah.
Chilov didn't look very good on that one either. There was a lot happening there that didn't work out for the Canucks.
And again, it's Kev. I don't really want to step on your toes here. We're talking about 2 games and everything. Hronek's going to be fine. Susie's looks good, solid too. I don't think it's. I always struggle with this nitpicking plays. I don't know why. I just always do, especially early on in the game.
Yeah, that's not where I'm going here, though. Yeah. So where I'm going, though, is I do think of all the defensemen on the Canucks that I think has the most polarizing pressure or polarizing. It's probably, I think most fans expect a little more out of Philip Hronek this year. If Philip Hronek takes a couple of steps, I think that helps the Canucks a lot. And I'm not saying Philip Hronek's a bad defenseman. I'm not saying anything like that. But
I don't think you're wrong with that. Just how do we measure that?
That's true.
I don't he played fantastic last year. He was one of the biggest reasons. Him and Hughes together was one of the biggest reasons the Canucks were so good. Even in the second half when his offensive game went missing. For whatever reason, injury or whatever, he still played solid defensively for the most part and helped elevate Quinn Hughes. So that's when I think when you were talking, for those who aren't watching this, I had a bit of a miffed look on my face.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And Tyler, you nailed it. How do you measure that? Because he put up 40 points last year. And he was solid defensively. How do you measure that? What are we looking for in his game to take steps?
I want to see a little bit more shooting from him, which he did in the first half, not as much in the second half. And I'm just, for me personally, I want to see a bit more physicality from him too. I'm not saying he's not in any of those things. Please don't get me wrong, but he's got a little bit of a nasty side to him that I think we could see a little more of. And maybe this is kind of a ridiculous answer to your question, Sean, but if the Canucks get to the third round of the playoffs, I think that's in part because we've seen a step from Philip Hronek. Now, I'm not blaming him if they don't get me wrong, but I think, I think a lot of this for me is about the playoff success. Where do the Canucks land in the playoff part, right?
Well, you got to get there first.
Again, into the physicality again there, Cal. He had 104 hits last year. How much, again, I think what we got from Philip Hronek, he can be a little bit better here, there, and all that, maybe just a little more steady. I think if he plays like that, and the Canucks make a deep run based off of two things here. It's Petey getting back to being 100 and some point Petey, and Demko being. Canucks make the third round if one of those was there last year. And I think the one thing you want is consistency on the shooting. You want Hronek to be shooting like he was in the first half of the season. So, and then just Dylan's bringing up, he wants Hronek to run his own pair. I think he can, but the issue is not with Hronek there. The issue is if Ronek's running his own pair, he's most likely playing with Susie. That's a pair I think would be very good. But who are you playing with Quinn Hughes at that point? And are you basically saddling Quinn Hughes with a third pair, quote unquote, anchor? Because I don't see that as a Philip Hronek issue. That's a personnel issue. That's why the Canucks need to find another top 4 defenseman that they can plug in there.
Yeah, and I mean,
and whether
how,
they stick with Hughes and
how much patience are they going to have to try to develop in some fashion what they have already, such as a Mark Friedman or a Noah Juleson or a Vincent Desharnais? Like, at some point they have to decide whether that's going to work or not.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I think the Canucks are trying to I feel like the Canucks are trying to balance. Like you want to be patient with and develop people, but you need to also get going too, right? So I feel like it feels like there's a little bit of a balancing act between let's develop the guys, let's be as patient as possible because we don't have to win the division. We don't have to finish first in the regular season in the Pacific to have playoff success. But on the other side of this is I do think your playoff, where you are in the playoffs, is going to be determined. And I think both the Oilers and the Canucks want to do anything that they can to avoid the Vegas Golden Knights. Right? So, and I also think
at this point, I think you're thinking way too far ahead.
I don't.
Like the Vegas Golden Knights aren't a vaunted team that is like Vegas could finish first in this division. Like
they could,
and then there'd be Oilers and Canucks in the first round. Like there's too much to go. Just get yourself going.
Just
get
give
yourself
me a second,
figured out.
Just give me a second where I'm going from. What I'm trying to say is it's not like I think that they're trying to get themselves ready for the playoffs, and at the same time though they need to you don't want to slip too far out of you don't want to get off to a bad start. Like you're not going to have the hot start you did last year. But I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to grow and develop everybody, but you got to balance that out with wins, right? Wins are still the big thing.
Well, the other thing is they got to come up with some ideas that are fresh and new for the opposition because they're not flying under anybody's radar anymore.
No, and that's the other thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tyler. I think that this is the other challenge with the Canucks, and then we'll get into Petey here for a second. They are not. You're right. I think that the Canucks are not going to be sneaking up on anybody like they did last year. They kind of caught teams at the start off their game because they didn't take them seriously. Now the Canucks are a team that I think people are going to be gearing up for, and that is a new challenge, right? So that's another part of that growth process. Now you have to be ready every night. So. You're going to get better games from everybody. You're going to get the best from everybody. I think that's a challenge that the Oilers are actually going to be facing a lot more than the Canucks. I think I'm kind of surprised we started the season after all. I thought they were going to cancel it because I just assumed that we were just going to give the Oilers the cup.
Oh, here he goes. Here he goes with this soapboxing here.
The parade was scheduled from West Edmonton Mall to the lake. I mean, everybody's picking them to win, right? So why do we have
So who from Oilers fan base nation hurt you, Kevin? Like, what's going on here?
Oh, I don't have time for that. For the idea on that. No, but you know what I mean. Like, it's just, I think that what my point is that especially the Canucks and the Oilers are going to both face the challenge of being the hunted rather than the hunter.
Oh yeah,
and it is a new growth part. And I think that is another thing that I wonder, just thinking about Pettersson, if this is going to be the challenge here for Pettersson is he's going to be a player that coaches will focus on in terms of matchups. He's going, right? Like, you're going to plan your game. You're going to have a game plan of how you stop Pettersson and how do you deal with that? And I guess we haven't talked to Tyler again since you haven't been around. Kind of what are your expectations for Pettersson this year?
Oh boy. It's kind of sad to say a little bit, but I'm not really setting big expectations for him. I mean, we saw in the playoffs last year and after the contract was signed that he struggled. Like, I'm just hoping he gets that swagger back at some point and then builds off of that. But I can't sit here and put like a point total on the guy and set a measuring stick of that sort. I mean, there's been again changes to the roster and him trying to find some chemistry, say with Jake DeBrusk I just want him to find his swagger back. We'll start with that. If that doesn't come back soon, there's going to be major concern with him.
He's from these two games. There's been times where he's just taking a split second too long to take a shot. But you can see that he's starting. It's starting to look like he's getting there. Like, slowly but surely, he's getting there. And again, it's 2 fucking games.
Yeah, exactly.
If you are already screaming at the top of the seawall because Pettersson has not put up 6 points in 2 games, give your head a shake.
Yeah,
it's 2 games. And yeah, he's trying to. It's still a pretty new line with him, DeBrusk, and they had Sprong there for all the game versus Calgary, and then I think they swapped out Garland for Sprong in the at the end of the Philly game. But it's still a work in progress. Every season you should start new as much as you can. If you're still holding a grudge for what happened at the end of last season in the playoffs with Pettersson, go out, touch some grass, breathe in the fresh air, and just calm your tits, because it's going to take some time. This whole team's a work in progress, and we're 2 games in. The Oilers are 0-3; they have no points. The Canucks are 0-2 with 2 points. I've seen other teams go off and have it. It doesn't at this point. It's still way too early to be even acting this way. It's the beginning of the season, and it's just.
I would say with Petey, Sean, that there was a pretty lengthy stretch there last year where he was struggling, and people are going to be concerned if that continues into this season. Yeah, it's only 2 games. But I mean, this team is going to be really limited if they don't get more out of him. I mean, I think that's just obvious. And it's hard to read the body language with him. I mean, sometimes it seems like maybe he's a little lacking confidence, but it's hard to get in his head either. He's not very expressive about all that kind of stuff. Would help if he was just given some space, but there isn't unlimited runway with that either.
And that's where I'm at. I think instead of going from 0 to 100 with it, just understand that it's a new season. It should be a fresh start, or as fresh as you can, and don't just jump in the deep end with the expecting PD to just flip a switch. Hockey doesn't happen that way. No, there's not many people or teams that can flip a switch and go from being in a slump or struggling to being at the top of their game. And there are steps that need to be taken here. And I think that Petey is starting to take those steps. And he said, I just the way he's looking at when he gets the puck now, you're starting to see a little bit more of the shoot first mentality that we need from him. And I'm hoping that it just in 2-3 weeks time, all this hand wringing after 2 fucking games is just we're gonna be looking at it and laughing at the people who did it.
Boy, I guess tomorrow against Tampa Bay can't come soon enough. Yeah.
I'm not worried about Petey. I mean, I think he'll be. I think he'll be fine. It's a new season, you know. Yeah, I'm not in the worried camp with him. And I guess the other thing that will be a work in progress, I think more specifically the power play than the penalty kill, because I think that's been kind of the focus from the offseason is the power play. And again, I guess are we all just going to say it together? Work in progress. Work in progress.
I mean, it kind of always is, I suppose, but I don't watch enough other games to see how other teams' power plays operate and how frustrating that can be to watch. But it does feel frustrating at times to watch the Canucks power play.
Nobody is going to sit here like I think people need to kind of calm expectations of power play overall.
Yeah,
because I mean it's like baseball and hitting. You like 3 out of 2 or 3 out of times you're gonna get a hit. 7 times you're gonna miss. 2 out of 10 times you're gonna score 2 or 3, right? So I think people kind of overreact a little bit on.
I agree.
You know.
Yep.
Oh, the puck's not in the zone. Like it's but I kind of think it's in terms of who they're going to deploy in certain situations and stuff. I think that this is going to be a work in progress, and this will be one that I think this is one area I suspect that they will want to have hammered down by the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't make this a bold prediction, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Canucks power play is better in the playoffs than it is in the regular season.
And right now, if the Canucks power play is middle of the league or sort of top half of the league, and their penalty kill is sort of in that same range, that's fine. Like, as long as you're trending in the right direction going into later in the season and into the playoffs.
They got to get there first. I just want to remind everybody they got to get there first.
They do, but the runway is there. The opportunity is there. They have the skill. They've got the coaching. They've got the mentality. They've made the playoffs last year. I think they will. And again, I think this it's 2 games. Calm down. There's no need to overanalyze things, whether it's with Petey, whether it's with the defense, whether it's the goaltending, whether it's the power play or the penalty kill. Like you just need to understand that. Like it's an 82-game season. This isn't like the NFL where it's a 17-game season and 3-4 games in, you're almost a quarter of the way through. Like we're not even anywhere close to that. So if the Canucks can go 2-2 through this 4-game road trip and maybe get a loser point in one of those losses, they'll still be looking really good.
Yeah. I guess a couple of other things that I wanted to touch on here. This kind of happened. Funny enough,
mid-podcast.
Mid-podcast. I did not realize that. I learned that Eric Branstrom was a Vancouver Canuck and an Abbotsford Canuck. That was kind of an embarrassing moment. But anyway, Tucker Pullman and with some salary retention ended up in Colorado for Eric Branstrom. Branstrom already has started in Abbotsford with a couple of points. This is an interesting. I kind of think Eric Branstrom is an interesting pickup because this is a guy that came in. I'm not saying he's Luke Shen, but I'm going to compare him to Luke Shen just for a second here. Just hear me out. Early pick, mid first round pick. Got acquired in the Mark Stone trade from Vegas to Ottawa. I think Ottawa had so much expectations of him being the next Erik Karlsson. It didn't work out. He's been bouncing around other organizations, like in Colorado, as an example. And I wonder if this guy turns out to be someone. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy turns out to be kind of a valuable piece for the Canucks and kind of some found money. I mean, I don't think that he's no one can expect their top 4 defensemen, but defensemen develop late, and kind of where I compare him to Luke Shen is both of them were early picks that had such high expectations on them. Now that they can actually play their game, you see what Luke Shen does playing his game. Once Eric Branstrom kind of discovers his game, I think it will be very valuable. And it may be in a 5-6 role, but hey, there's nothing wrong with 5-6 defensemen.
Yeah, you can never have enough defensive depth. I mean, for me, the part that's nice is that they were kind of able to bring a conclusion to the whole Tucker Poolman saga and get something back for him. That's a plus. And and this Branstrom, from what I've read about him, seems to have some bite to his game, so that's good too.
He is an undersized defenseman. He's 5'10", 185. More on the offensive side of things than anything else. He's a left shot. So if something happens to Quinn Hughes, knock on wood, he'd be a good short-term sort of replacement for him. He's going to be a work again. The word of the day is work in progress.
Work in progress.
To figure to get his defensive game to where it needs to be for the Canucks. Especially with the way Tocchet wants his defenseman. He's going to be in Abbotsford all season unless there is a catastrophic issue. And that just as intriguing as he could be, I just don't see where he fits on the Canucks at this point, because Quinn Hughes is your number one defenseman on the first power play unit. Philip Hronek's going to be on the second power play unit. We saw Carson Soucy get power play minutes last year as well, and that's his bread and butter. So he's too far down the depth chart, and he's not going to be penalty killing. He's not going to be a defensive defenseman for this team. But he's going to be, not saying that the acquisition is bad. First off, getting all that cap room they got with getting rid of Pullman is huge, and having someone like Branstrom down in the AHL, transporting the puck up the ice and being an offensive defenseman down there for them is going to be huge. It's going to help to create offense and help put the forwards up there get more offensive opportunities. So I think if you want a realistic sort of outlook for Eric Branstrom, it's going to be being an AHL star for the Canucks in Abbotsford and being able to help the rest of that team develop offensively.
And as Dan has often said from Fireside Chat, and you need to fill both. You need to have those type of players in Abbotsford as well. You need to have depth in both your organization. It's not always about the Canucks. It's mostly about the NHL organization, but you do have to fill an AHL roster as well. So, yeah. Having good AHL vets and players who have the skill and the experience to help bring along some of your defensemen and your players, period, is huge. You can't just throw a bunch of kids down in the AHL and expect them to develop. Yeah. The Canucks this year. The Canucks, the Abbotsford Canucks blue line is pretty stacked in terms of potential NHL
players down there.
Yeah.
Dratstev looked good in the preseason. DPD looked good in the preseason. You still got Hirose, McWard. Jet Wu is still pushing for spots down there. Then they even waived Mark Friedman. He's down there. They've got Brandstrom. Having that competitiveness on and who's playing every day is great. It's going to help make those players better.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yep.
Totally agree. But I mean, ultimately, the thing that I come away with, the other thing I just want to point out here, the one thing that I think the Canucks do have an advantage over the Oilers is I will trust Patrick Allvin to make the right move at the right time. Again, he's
so far
shown.
there's lots of reason to feel confident in that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just a very unfortunate situation happened to Canucks draft pick Anthony Romani, who suffered a broken clavicle. It just sucks. A 6th-round player I pick. It doesn't matter. It's just really kind of unfortunate that happened. So I just wanted to say all the best to him. Wherever that just sucks. That sucks.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And he was someone who I wasn't sure what to expect when it turns professional, because I believe he was an overage pick for the Canucks this year. But he should it should be potentially 8 to 12 weeks recovery time for that. So hopefully he can get back and then be there. Help his team in the later part of the season and going into OHL playoffs and all that, because you never know with those late round picks, and both him and Patterson, the two late round picks the Canucks had this year out of the OHL, both looked really good at Penticton when I saw them, and I think there's some hope that they could turn into. As much as you're trying to develop NHLers, if you can, some of those late round picks, if you can develop them into AHLers and they become good farm hands to help develop players and your depth in your organization, that's good too.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else with the Canucks we need to talk about?
No, I think it's just a reminder again to everybody. Look, but just let it breathe for a bit here. You can't draw a lot of conclusions after 2 games. 10 to 15 games is another story, but this road trip is going to be a challenge for the Canucks. You don't want to stub your toe here, but again, it's still very early.
Yeah,
you've got Tampa tomorrow. Florida on Thursday. Sounds like Florida will be without Barkov and Tkachuk. So that there's an opportunity there. And then it's Philadelphia on Saturday. So that I'm looking forward to Saturday. I'm just gonna put that right now. I've got the first good get together with the boys and watch hockey, doubleheader. Canucks Flyers on at 5:00, and then it's Flames Kraken at 8. So 4 and 7 Pacific time. It's just, I cannot wait. I'm so happy that this is back. We had first Saturday of the year, we had our Friendsgiving, so we had the hockey on in the background. And then the whole party sort of just stopped for the pregame for the Flames, as I said, I had Andy over and my buddy Ryan, who on another big Flames fan, but I'm really looking forward to just having a good Canadian Saturday night. Yes. on this upcoming Saturday. It's just, I've missed it. I really have missed it.
Yeah, this
and then,
is.
Then you said they finish it off in Chicago, right? So
yeah,
there's an opportunity to go 3-1 on this road trip, and if they can find a way to beat Tampa, who if you're going to look at those 4 games, Tampa's a toss up. You don't know what you're going to get with them. With Florida without Barkov and Tkachuk, if you play well, you should win that. Yeah, they are the defending Stanley Cup champions, but they're missing 2 of their top 3 players. There's an opportunity there. Philly's Philly. Like they play the Canucks hard, and the Canucks have had a tough time with them, but they're beatable. And then Chicago. You play the way the Canucks. If the Canucks play the way that we know they can play, they should beat Chicago. There's a good chance they could go at least 3-1 through this road trip. And if they go 3-1 and they come back from the road trip being 3-1-2.
That'll calm
And you look back at those first 6 games, regardless of how it happens, would you be happy with that? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Even if it's 2-2-2, like it's that 2-2-2. You've got 6 out of a possible 12 points. It's not ideal, but it's still early in the season, and you haven't really lost too much in the way of things. So.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
I mean, the Oilers almost pulled that off last year. So yeah, you can't win the cup. You can't win the cup, division, league, whatever at the beginning of the season. You can definitely put yourself way behind that you're almost going to lose it. But yeah, if like you said, if the Canucks go 2-2 on this road trip, and they come back 2-2-2, again, it's not ideal, but it's not horrible. If they can get 3 wins out of this road trip and come back 3-1-2, again, how can you be upset with that 3-1-2 record after 6 games? That's just one win. That again, early seasons, the big swings between the feeling of being 2-2-2 versus 3-1-2 is just kind of insane.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's just transition to a few other NHL stories that are making the rounds. The Utah hockey whatchamacallits have left the ranks of the unbeaten. So they did lose this afternoon 3-0 to a lot of people's Stanley Cup pick, New Jersey Devils. You know what? I gotta give Utah their kudos. They showed up for that first game. They made a lot of noise. It created an atmosphere, and I think those players that have spent all those years languishing in a place that just felt like the bottom of the basement, like an ECHL team went into an kind of a almost NHL rink. I mean, and I'm only saying that because they're developing a new rink. They went into an atmosphere with people cheering for them, and I do think that helped them a lot. Now, is this team a playoff team? I'm not entirely convinced. Is Dylan Guenther the superstar he's starting out to be? I'm not sure, but at least I think it's a good. I'm happy for the players that have went from this Arizona nonsense that they've been through, which is really unfortunate and not the fans' fault, the owner's fault, to this Utah situation where hockey can be fun for them again.
Absolutely. And it just anytime you got like some sort of new novelty, there's I think there's a boost to be had from that, and I think that could last for a little while for that team. But it really does start with the top. You mentioned ownership. I mean, it was just disastrous in Arizona through successive owners, and I don't know a lot about the Utah Hockey Club owner, but there doesn't seem to be any shortage of energy or good things to say about the guy. I guess it's a couple actually, but that commitment from ownership is there, and he's very front facing and has done a lot. That's Ryan Smith, I believe, is the guy's name, and they're off to a good start. I think they're in good hands there. It is a market that's not the biggest of places to be, but as long as they keep on track with their arena situation, they'll be just fine. It is kind of amusing, all those obstructed view seats, but for now the novelty is not it's there, and people will live with the limitations of the building at this point.
Yeah. All right. I have two takes on them. One is my Canucks fandom take. They are conference rival. Fuck them. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the actual, the rational, more analytical part is the arena's better than Mullet Arena.
Yeah.
The owner's better than the Arizona. They were going to have they were going to feel energized, especially starting at home, and they were going to run away with it. Like he does have a good shot, but Canucks fans, can we fucking move on, please?
Yeah.
Every time he scores doesn't mean that the Canucks, without that trade, the Canucks don't have Garland.
Yeah.
It may not be as bad a trade as you want to make it out to be.
Yeah, I agree.
So please, please, please let the kid have play his games and be fine, and do not bring him up because it just every time, because it's a loser mentality when you do it, and B, it annoys the fuck out of people who just want to enjoy hockey.
I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. There's no need to rehash.
I'm calling out one of your coworkers, Kevin, Dan Riccio. Stop being the comic book guy of 650. Worst trade ever. Whenever he does things, just stop it. Stop it. Be better.
Oh, Sean.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. It's just it's like it's over. Whatever. Move on. With that. Igor Shesterkin is reportedly turned down $11 million a season to play with the New York Rangers, and it did create a buzz. I kind of feel like this is ultimately. I don't see Igor Shesterkin leaving the Rangers. Does anybody see Igor Shesterkin leaving the Rangers? I think they're going to pay him what he wants eventually.
Yeah, they seem to be pretty committed to him at this point, I would think.
No, this is him wanting to be the highest paid player on the Rangers.
Yep, and he has every right to.
He wants to be paid.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, as I said, yeah, he as long as 11.65 million as his cap hit, that would be what 10,000 more a year than Artemi Panarin, and you'll get the deal will get done.
Yeah. The last thing is it was quite a travel waiver day for Raphael Lavoie, who went from, and I just think this whole situation from everybody involved it's kind of comical, but I kind of feel for Raphael Lavoie as well. So hockey fan in me laughs really heartily. Rational person in me feels for Raphael Lavoie, he goes on waivers, gets claimed by Vegas, goes back on waivers, gets claimed by Edmonton. Now, the funny thing is after all of this, goes back onto waivers so he goes back to Edmonton on waivers, but someone else a couple of other teams put a claim on Raphael Lavoie, so they could not send him down to the minors. So the Oilers decide, let's try to put him back on waivers again. So Vegas claims him, and nobody. This is the funny part. This is the hockey fan hilarity part of all of this. Nobody else puts a claim on Raphael Lavoie, so Lavoie now ends up in Henderson for the Vegas Golden Knight AHL team. And then now the Oiler conspiracy theories are all out there saying, I don't know what's going on here. I'm like,
there's nothing. There's okay, yeah. Don't even give that credence, okay? Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
I think this whole thing is hilarious.
Yeah, I kind of wonder. Like we saw this something similar with Yuri Patera, who got reclaimed by the Canucks, and after I guess being claimed by the Bruins, and yeah, I wonder if we might see more of this going forward, where teams are trying to manipulate their cap situation and doing the whole waiver thing and reclaiming and then trying to get them back down to the minors. It'll be interesting to see if we see a little bit more of this. It does seem to be. It's very unusual. It's not something that's generated a lot of discussion in the past until this last week or so.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, like something like this. So, Lavoie was basically stuck in his hotel room in Edmonton, trying to wait to find out where he actually goes to, whether he stays in Edmonton, goes down to Vegas or Henderson or where else. But yeah, I heard. I don't think we'll ever know who actually put the claim in that nixed the Oilers being able to send him down to Bakersfield. But I heard Dallas was potentially an option because they were dealing with some injuries. I heard Colorado as well was potential because they just didn't have the depth. And what happened with Vegas? I was listening to 32 Thoughts today, and Elliot Friedman talked about how Vegas had a few players on waivers, and they were expecting to lose multiple of them. So in expectation, they put a couple waiver claims in on both Lavoie and then Cole Schwindt. And when they only lost Zach Aston Reese to Columbus, and they got both Schwindt and Lavoie, then they had to make another decision on the player. They decided to keep Schwindt and waive Lavoie. So then they waive Lavoie, and then that's when that second team came in. It was interesting to listen to Friedman because he was actually talking with the agent of Lavoie and about how they should maybe fix this. And once you've claimed the player once already, or once you've waived the player, if it's and then that player goes back on waivers again, then they said what they would like. I think they would like to see that based off of how this all played out. I think it would work because you're wanting these players to have a chance to play at the NHL level, right? That's what they want. They don't want to go back down to the AHL. They want to play at the NHL level. So once you've waived a player, regardless of what the waiver standings are, you go to the back of the line for that specific player. So had the Oilers waive Lavoie, he goes to Vegas. They have their roster issues, so they waive him again. Had the Oilers put the claim on him, but they were last in line, then whoever else would have put the claim on Lavoie would have got him, and he would have had a chance to play in the NHL as opposed to going through this yo-yoing of who, where, what, why, planes, trains, and automobile.
Yes, Sean. Yeah. Yes, great reference.
So it's again, I don't think. I mean, when I heard that someone put a claim in on him, I was like, I don't think that there was anything nefarious about it. It was all pure just hockey stuff. But I think I put in our group chat, I really hope Alvin put that claim in just to fuck with the Oilers.
This is where I
because they would have been behind they would have been behind.
Sean loves Petty. P is for Petty.
Yes.
Petty is for me. PETTY.
Yes. But yeah, it's just. I feel if you just do it that way with having the original team go to the back of the line for players, it would get rid of this and just get rid of all this and just streamline the system a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a fascinating. I do wonder. I do think we're going to see a little bit more of this. With people, with still teams really close to the cap, and although we do expect it to increase within the next few years, I think we're going to see this. This will be some things that will happen again.
This is sort of less to do with the cap and more to do with waiver eligibility and more. Team the idea that the league is getting younger, becoming a more debatable issue or just topic, because when you're talking about roster flexibility, like if the league is getting younger, you're going to see more players go on waivers and get claimed elsewhere like this. But if the league isn't getting younger, then you're going to see more teams prioritize putting players down that don't have waiver eligibility. So,
yeah.
I also wonder a little bit, like I'm thinking about the Jacob Pelche situation a little bit for the Flames. If it's not, it needs to be more on games played than seasons per se and age. Like, because I mean, Pelche missed a good chunk of his season because of an injury, right? 2 injuries actually, to be fair. So I think that I wonder if that's something that needs to be rectified a little bit too. And I believe that Lavoie has dealt with some injuries as well. I could be wrong. But
here. Yeah, I don't know about that. Let's quickly pull up waiver rules.
Oh boy, we're really into the weeds.
Yeah. We are. Let's go.
Wow.
It depends on when, it's a sliding scale of years/games played based off of when you sign your ELC, I believe, or when you make your pro debut. So I don't know, but also part of that is to help create more movement in the league and help create. You're not locking players into these teams and forcing them to play in the AHL when they could potentially play NHL games for another team. That's the whole point of waivers. It's more of a PA thing than a league and team based thing.
Yeah. Just looking here. Yeah, it's. I mean, we could nerd out about this for an hour, but we really don't need to. So,
yeah.
Fun enough. Anything else we want to talk about?
Just very quickly, tonight, Dolly will love this, is the beginning of the Amazon Monday Night Hockey package in Canada. Monday Night National Games available on Prime Video. Subscribe, whatever. I can't remember now when the Canucks first one is. It's not for a little while yet, but yes, 4 Canucks games will be available only on Prime Video, and we'll see that launch tonight, and I'm expecting a high quality production.
Yeah, they've really, just my observation. They've really looked like they've really slick. They've got a really slick presentation so far in terms of like their previews, so it'll be interesting. And so yeah. All right.
No, I think we're good. Other than happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Yes.
Is there something anyone wants to say that they're thankful for?
Oh.
Well, I'm thankful for 2 things. One, that Sportsnet decided they did not have enough Ferraro content on the TV and brought in Landon to do some commentary work on the panel. So we had on the last Canucks game, there was double Ferraro. There was Ray doing the color during the game and Landon doing the intermission work. So that's fantastic. And I'm also very thankful that the Oilers are 0-3.
P is for Petty. Petty's. Anyways, I will say, I'm thankful for all the various people that I get to interact with in hockey. It's been a big part of my life, and it's still going strong, both on the refereeing side and playing, and all the people that I've made great friendships with over the years. Those are still strong, and I'm very thankful for that. There'll come a point in time where I won't be able to keep going like I am now, but I'm soaking it up while I still can.
I'm thankful for you guys and your patience with me. I'm thankful that we can talk hockey.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for the game of hockey. Doing some more it's a little bit of play-by-play this weekend. So
nice.
Just thankful for the game of hockey and thankful for people putting up with me. There we go. And also that yeah. we know that's not going to last forever. So let's just get
No.
this rub in now, and then when they go on their big winning streak, everybody will look back and go, "Oh yeah, we're going to be thankful for the moment that they were. Remember that we were 0-3."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's hilarious. So the Oilers are 0-3. So are the Predators. So are the Hurricanes are 0-1. Colorado's 0-2. Like,
Oh, and you talk about a goaltending problem. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
so again, Canucks fans, calm down.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of have said this already. I think like teams like Calgary and Columbus and even Utah. I mean, Utah, there's some of these lower echelon teams are going to get off to quicker starts, and some of the teams that we have higher expectations are, and I think Nashville will be one of them, are going to get off to a slower start. I just think that's it's just, but don't worry. Anyway, how do we follow everyone?
I am Beardy Connect 03 on the app formerly known as Twitter.
I'm on the X.com machine as well at Tnoble, Tnoble.
Chris is Schneids, SCHNEIDZ. Devin is on Instagram at Gordhow09. I am on KEVOLE on all the social medias. And of course, we are on the app formerly known as Twitter, which is called X, Facebook, and Twitch, YouTube, and subscribe everywhere you get your audio. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.